What is going on, YouTube? In this video, we'll be going over 10 tips on how to take you from a not very good player. So maybe you don't really make it to the final day all the time, or say you are making it to the final day, but you're just getting smacked by that boss, to a pro-like player that is consistently making it to the final day and putting yourself in the best position to win that final boss fight. So to show that I'm qualified to make this video, as you can see, I have beaten all the bosses. Okay, but let's give a little bit more context around that. If you look at my results, I've done 46 runs and I have 14 wins, which really isn't the best. But now let's go into my result history for some more color. So it took me 7 runs before I beat the very first boss. And now I didn't play any network tests or anything like that. So this was my very first time playing this game. And also all of my runs have been with randoms because, like most of us, I don't have no friends that play this game. So 7 times, I really don't think that was that bad. But it's the next piece. It took me 24 more times before I got my next win. So I was 1 in 24 at one point, which is horrible. Clearly, I did not know how to play the game. But as I kind of learned more, you can see I make it to the final day, but just not getting that win. Learn more about the game. I started getting more wins more frequently, and then ultimately, just as continuing to get better and better, started winning pretty much all the time. So, with that being said, let's get into tip number 1. So, the first tip is around character selection. Now, I'm not going to go over each character in detail, but as you can see, there's 8 different characters and they all play a little bit differently. So, you have to determine what type of character are you and what type of weapons do you like to use. For me, I like to use Iron Eye, right? So that means I'm not going to be running around with a great sword because his scaling and strength is only a C. So I focus on bows and katanas. So every character is like that. They all scale with different things. So yes, you can build and wield any weapon with any character, but it's best to use the weapons that scale well with your particular character. The other thing is I do have a win with every character. Water, Guardian, and Raider, they have the biggest health pool. So if you are dying a lot, they may be good starting characters to use because when I used them, I felt like I was never going to die. So that's character selection. We can go on to the next tip. So the second tip is around relics. So you're not going to have any relics when you first start playing the game, but after you do a few runs, whether you win or lose, you'll start to see these pile into your inventory. Now, relics are super helpful because they help you build your character before you even enter a run. So that's helpful. Now, my biggest tip, especially early game, is to pick relics that help you deal with the current boss that you're facing. For example, after I beat the first boss, I got this relic here that gives your starting weapon fire damage. And so I went against bosses that were weak against fire because if I didn't find a fire weapon in the run, I wanted to still be able to deal their weakness to them. And that ultimately helped me a lot in beating those bosses. And I think one of those bosses then gave me this argument here that gave me the ability to inflict poison damage. Okay, now I put this relic on, and then I went against the boss that's weak against poison. So as you can see, like focusing on weaknesses of bosses is really key. And so that actually leads me to my next tip. Okay, so tip number 3 is around weaknesses of the bosses. Now, this is when you really start to understand how the game works, right? Because if you're walking into the boss fight without a weapon that deals their weakness, then you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. So, I'm not saying that you can't win, but why not have a weapon that can literally stun lock the bosses if your whole team is using them? So, focusing on making sure you have at least one of these weapons going into that final fight is key. Okay, so now that we've done all this prep work, let's get into some tips that actually happen during the run. So the fourth tip is communication. as soon as you come into the game, I know if my team is going to be good or not because are they pinging where they would like to go? You know, the only downfall in this game, in my opinion, is the fact that there is no other way to communicate. Even like a text box system would be cool to just say like over here or this way, here's an item, something like that. I mean, you can ping items, but communication is super, super important because as you are in this run, you want to always kind of be with your team. And so knowing where your team wants to go is crucial. Now, if two people ping a same location, then that point becomes white. And typically, if I'm in a match and I ping somewhere differently, similar like how this video was, than where my starting teammates pinged, if my other teammate pings the other location and it turns white, then I'm going to go there because at the end of the day, I was overruled, and um, that's where we're going because it makes sense to follow your team. Now, the next tip, number 5, is mini bosses. So you can see here I'm fighting a mini boss in this area. You want to always focus on killing as many of these bosses as you possibly can. I rarely focus on the trash enemies because they just don't give enough souls or runes and ultimately waste time. And this game is all about going fast. And so, as you can see, mini bosses drop these items, which I didn't like any of them, so I didn't pick any up. But you want to try to get as many of those as you can to get the best gear in a time efficient manner. Okay, tip number 6, understanding your map. Every run is different, but these locations really drop the same thing. So the first one I'm going to talk about is churches. These drop flasks, super important. They heal you. You can never have enough. The next one is this tower building. It has a map up in the tower that shows you where special items are. So super cool. Also, you can see that it has this effective weapon, just like this building. Camps have it. You want to go to those, especially if the weapon type is what your boss's weakness is. Next, you have these little caves. If you kill the boss, you get a smithing stone. The smithing stone will upgrade a blue weapon to a purple weapon. Super helpful for the last boss. This actually changed the game for me, understanding that. Then you have the main castle in the middle of the map. Has a boss at the bottom and the top. Top boss, really tough. So I would go to this on the second day only. And then lastly, you have these little stone key places. If you have a stone key, use it. You can get some good items. Dying. Mm. Tip number 7. In a Souls-like game, dying is to be expected. But in Elden Ring Nightreign, it's not the end of the world. Sure, you lose a level, which ultimately means you do less damage to any enemies you're facing and you have less health. But all you have to do to get that level back is go back to where you died and pick up those runes. Once you hit a site of grace, you get that level right back. So again, not the end of the world. Worst time to die though is in the storm right before the second night boss because you will not have the opportunity to go back and get your level. You also, if you die at night against these bosses, the game's over. So there is no going back. So those times you don't want to die, but any other time, just simply go back, pick up your runes, get that level right back. Tip number 8. Weapon passives. Now this is probably the most important tip I can give in this whole video. Even though my example here isn't that great because I didn't find the best gear like improved crit hits, not that great. But I did find a few. Less likely to be targeted, improved attack power at full HP. That's not too bad for a bow player. But, in this game, you're not just looking for all the purple weapons. You want passives that help you because you're only going to use one, maybe two weapons against the boss at a time. So focusing on passives that help your player while you're using your other weapons is ideal. So for example, for bow player, I'm looking for improved range damage. I'm looking for maybe attacks restore HP. Less likely to be targeted is great, and then attack up at full HP is also very good. So those are the main ones I'm looking for. Another one I like is like damage mitigation after successive hits. Like I think that's pretty good too. All right, tip number 9: speed. Speed, speed, speed. You have to go fast in this game. This is probably the second most important tip I can give you. Most of the runs that I fail now are just simply because we spent too much time on like a roaming boss. Like, yeah, we killed him, but it took 4 minutes. That is not good. You have to go fast, kill as many bosses as you can to be able to get more runes to up your level. Because if you're going slow, you're going to end the run at like level 10. While you need like, I mean, it's helpful if you're like level 13, 14. Um, so just go fast. If you're taking too long on a boss, move on. And finally, tip number 10: you gotta practice. You gotta play the game, you gotta put in the time to really get good. I mean, it's a tough game, but if you put in time in learning how to go fast, learning what routes you want to take, learning what character you want to use, learning what weapon passives help you the best throughout your runs, then you will succeed. I have, like I said before, played with nothing but randoms, and clearly I see a big difference in even randoms play over the launch day versus now. And I mean, obviously my play has improved quite a bit as well. So put in the time and you will succeed. So that's all I have for this video. If you like it, feel free to like it and subscribe. Otherwise, you guys have a great day and catch you on the next one. Peace.